Hello and welcome to the Football Breakdown. This is the Fantasy EFL preview show and it's game week 37. I'm Matthew South.
And I'm Ian Cooper.
Yes, hello and welcome everybody. Happy early Easter. An absolute feast of football this weekend. It's a full double game week. And very interestingly, there's so many 3pm kickoffs because not too many games have actually been moved for TV. So there's an absolute mammoth of games happening tomorrow at 3pm, which is going to be really exciting. I can't wait. How are you doing, Ian?
Yeah, really good, thank you. Really excited for tomorrow. But like you say, because they also kick off at 3 o'clock, I'm going to be sat there at sort of like 3:30, looking at my team, updating my points totals. I'll be like, well, it's not really that high yet. And getting really panicky because you don't have any more games that day to bank on. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting, this one.
No, definitely. Yeah, I think I might be going to Wimbledon Chesterfield to have a little look at the League Two playoff picture and promotion race tomorrow, seeing as it's technically my local team at the moment. But their tickets are quite expensive though. But yeah, I think that's how I'm going to spend my Friday. Also gets me away from watching the potential failures of my actual team in the background. So
yeah,
nice little distraction from that. Well, before we get into this week, shall we a quick rundown how we did last week? Ian, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, so I've had back-to-back weeks of really poor points totals. I managed to get 59 this week, which is actually only 10 less than the week before. It's a double game week. So in theory, it's an improvement, but I didn't do very well. I just didn't pick up any, as we said off end, any Salford defenders really. I had Teddy Sharman Lowe managed to get 4 points, no clean sheets there. Sonny Bradley got a clean sheet, 8 points, pretty happy with that. Michael Stev only got 5 points. We only had 3 clearances, so it wasn't really too dominant. And we were both pretty coy on Chris Mepham. We both quite liked him. He came away with 2 points and a yellow card, so not ideal for basically my whole back line there. And it gets worse when I talk about George Honeyman. Really excited for the Millwall attackers against Middlesbrough. They obviously came away with a 1-0 win, but he only played 58 minutes and didn't contribute any bonus points there. So I got 1 point from Honeyman, who I really fancied in the side. Sadly, put him in instead of Kieran Green, who went and scored from inside his own half after raving about him. So really hurt after that one. And my last 2 players were Luke Molyneux, captained him, managed to get 12 points as a captain, 3 points in each game, just for two key passes in one game and 2 shots on target the second game. And thankfully, I had Charlie Kelman, who managed to get 2 goals and 14 points. First time that my forward has actually been my best player. So that feels good, but it lets you know how poor the rest of the team got on, really. And as for the teams, Wickham, with the last-minute winner, managed to get 7 points from them. And Doncaster Rovers had the 2 worst results I could hope for, being 2 1-all draws, and got 6 points there.
Yeah, literally, it's like, apart from losing, we would say that 1-all draw is just so frustrating because it's a 0-0 or 2-all, gets you 5 points, and it's exactly what I got with Wrexham. I got 5 points, whilst Wickham picked up the late winner to close the gap on them. The difference between 7 and 5 points is really minuscule, so I wasn't too fussed on that one. But yeah, Doncaster's 2 1-all draws were very frustrating. In fact, Doncaster just all around, like Molyneux 6 points. I captained him as well, went to 12. Sharman Lowe, just the 4 points basically for appearances. The rest of my team I thought was quite good. Kelly Namai, 15 points, came off injured, so didn't even get like the second point for playing the other day, but he got an assist in that game against Doncaster, so 4 points there, 11 points in the first game. Shame he's injured because he is just so good to watch. He was brilliant against Notts County, absolutely terrific player. And then the rest of my team, Sonny Bradley 8 points, Max Clark 9 points, Josh Murphy 6 points. I thought that's fine. And then Laurent Talai 17 points, absolutely balled out. It was a lot of people had Kelman, which is understandable, and there's only a 3-point difference. But it's one of those things of I don't think I could have banged the drum any more than I did for the fact that he had to be in the team this weekend. So I was happy. I was happy that he kind of did show up and do exactly what I thought he'd do. Yeah, he was really the biggest highlight of my weekend. Yeah, 82-point return for me. So yeah, there was some good scores in the league. Just not picking a Salford defender, maybe just really cost me in the end, and opting for Doncaster over Salford. Thing is, if I had to do it again, I'd probably stick the same. I just really backed Doncaster, and I still have faith in them. I think they're going to finish in the top three. But it was a really good week for Salford, to be fair to them. So, yeah, it certainly shakes up that playoff picture as well, which is quite exciting as we get into this week. So yeah, full double game week. So usual format. Goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, and forward from each of the three leagues.
Just before we get started into our picks, you can very much say if we look at our table, we are both very much on the beach. But interestingly, we are tied on points now.
Oh, I didn't actually realise we were tied.
Yeah, we're sat in 13th and 14th, so very much bang on mid-table for us. No chance of winning, but we are bang on tied.
Yeah, I was gonna say, interestingly, I've gone ahead of you in that table, even though we're level on points. I'm like, is that a count back rule or something?
I think so.
I'm not going to argue about it. I'll take it. Yeah, that is very interesting. Yeah, good healthy league size as well. It keeps growing. So thank you everyone who's been joining that. It's really competitive at the top. So yeah, really really good to see, and it gives us something to aim for going into next season. But yeah, on to this week now. Yeah, as I said, double game week standard format, and I'm going to take us away with the championship goalkeeper, and I'm going to go back to the very first player I spoke about when we started this podcast. I'm going for Lawrence Vigouroux in goal for Swansea. And yeah, Ian's like slapped his head, which means he's either got a Swansea defender or he hates the pick. Yeah, do you know what? It's one of those things of like literally a week or two ago, I was talking about how Swansea kind of were in that mid-table thing, little to play for. And I kind of forgot that Swansea do this thing every season, and I'm pretty sure it's most seasons. Certainly was under Russell Martin, where the final 10 games of the season, they turn into the best team in the league, and they go into next season thinking this is their year to get back in that playoff picture, and they start off terribly and have to do it all over again. And it's happening again. They look really good right now, and it's like everything's finally coming together, and summer just comes at the worst time for them. But yeah, they've got 2 games against Hull and QPR, and I did look at all the championship double game weeks here. And I don't know about you, Ian, but I thought there's no one really with like a favourable double here. Everyone's got a tricky fixture at least.
No, there's not.
So I think Hull and QPR is as favourable as it gets. And, it's 3 clean sheets in a row for Swansea. Vigouroux's been getting bonus points saves in those. 4 clean sheets and 5 at home. Only Burnley have scored against them in the last 5 home games. So, you can forgive them for that. They, Lee's been scoring for fun, and Swansea went there and got a point. They're a good side. They're ending the season well. They've got clean sheets home and away, and I think Hull and QPR are, sides who they're not really big goal scorers, especially QPR at the moment. I know they've picked up the results a little bit, but they have been struggling in front of goal. Hull's goal against Coventry on Monday night came from a deflection. It's not like they carved open Coventry. If anything, it was the other way around. So yeah, I'm happy to get with Vigouroux here. And listen, he's a solid goalkeeper. He can pick up save points as he has recently.
Yeah, I definitely guess that you're going to go down that angle, because I made sure I spoke about 2 defenders just in case you mentioned a Swansea player. So I am going to offer up both defenders, but I'm going to start off here with Tristan Kramer for Millwall. As mentioned before, he joined in January playing right back and records a great number of defensive actions. That's gone up another level with Japhet Tanganga out with an injury, so Kramer's now partnering up with Jake Cooper at centre back, and has got some real sturdy performances under his belt. They find themselves actually being the hunters for the playoff spots, which is quite exciting. And with their 2 games being Blackburn and Norwich, both teams who have just lost all momentum this season and severely dropped at the rates of scoring goals, it might be an ideal game for Millwall to edge out a close scoreline and win to 0, especially with Norwich's case, where you look at them being second in the highest goals scored per 90, and you might think that's actually quite a poor take, but they've just really struggled to create high XG chances. and are far too heavily reliant on big players to provide moments of magic. And as for my backup player, I was going to mention how their team finds themselves in a totally different situation. They're bang on mid-table. You can imagine their players are thinking about the holidays again. And when they do this, they become the real upsetters of the season. So Swansea's last 4 games were against Leeds, Derby, Plymouth and Sunderland, and ended in 3 wins and a draw, causing chaos at the top and bottom of the league. And I believe it's to do a lot with Alan Sheehan taking his caretaker role very seriously to prove himself worth to take the role permanently. And for that reason, I'm going to recommend Harry Darling over Kramer as my defender pick. Over those 4 games mentioned, Darling has averaged 11.5 points, over Kramer's 7.25 average points in that time as well.
Yeah, solid. Yeah, no, definitely back the Swansea side of things, but the Kramer shout is interesting as well. Yeah, like Norwich as well, away from home do struggle a lot more, and their game against Millwall is away from home in that angle. So yeah, no, Millwall, like you say, the team on the charge, they actually have the second best defense out of that kind of 5th to 11th range in the table. So yeah, no, I think both are good suggestions there. In midfield, similarly, I kind of have 2 players to suggest here, because the first one is almost just, I guess, the one on the name who I feel like he's going to be in a lot of teams this week, and it's Jack Rodoni. You know, he's just so good. If you're watching the game on Monday night, he just commands the ball. He's so creative. He's a goal threat as well. Since returning from injury, averaged 6 points a game, and I think that includes one of those games where he came off the bench to score. 2 assists, 1 goal, an interception, 7 key passes in those 4 games, and the shot take on those is 2-1-5-2. So 10 shots in his last 4 games as well. Over the course of the season, 6 goals, 13 assists, 71 key passes. They are at home to West Brom on Friday. They are away to Argyle on Monday. West Brom are not travelling well at the moment. They just can't seem to get any results on the road, and despite their good win against Watford the other day, which put them up into 7th and ahead of that chasing pack, they're still they're still at risk. Like they're not doing enough away from home to really like trouble them. And Coventry, if they win that game, they go 6 points clear of West Brom, with 3 games to go. So big game there, and you kind of want. I'd be happy to back a big game player, and then Argyle we know can see goals, so Rodoni should be key there. But yeah, the other player I wanted to throw into this, because I want to talk about it at some point, and he was going to be my sub point 1, but I'm going for a different angle there. Harrison Armstrong for Derby. If you want to go for the other end of the table and you want to kind of pick a player for like the different reasons in the midfield, well, he's averaging just over 2 interceptions per 90 since joining Derby on loan. 6 interceptions in the last 3 games, and a few weeks ago he got 7 interceptions against Blackburn. Every single game he started, he's picked up an interception. He's also scored a really good goal away at Plymouth a few weeks ago. Derby's 2 fixtures, Luton and West Brom. Similarly, like direct teams where we think we can make the most of the interception angle. So yeah, Rodoni's the standout, but Armstrong's definitely in consideration for me as well.
Yeah, no, I can get behind Armstrong. It's interesting how he's almost taken the role over from Edu Adams. Even though Edu Adams plays as well, he's almost more influential further up the pitch now. So it's much more Harrison Armstrong doing the doggy work at the back, say, and picking up some really good interception points. So I'm glad you mentioned him. It might feel like it's a little bit too late in the season to try and focus on that sort of player, but if you need consistent points, interceptions are still the way to go. I'm going to go into the forward pick. So Matt, I reckon you can help me explain why this, because I feel like he may well be on your thinking too, but I'm putting forward Ryan Hardy of Plymouth Argyle, one of the in-form forwards in the Championship, who's very still much under the radar, sitting at 0.1%. And I would guess that's because fantasy players are thinking, will this form continue, even with Argyle's position in the league? Well, since the start of February, Hardy has 11 goals in the league and 3 assists. So out of the 17 goals Argyle scored in that time, Hardy has contributed just under 65% of all of their goals. as well as important bonus. He's scored a brace 3 times this season as well, so that's pretty crucial going into double game week. If he doesn't score the first game, he can make up for it in the second game. And as for Argyle's opponents, it's Middlesbrough away. We've mentioned their shaky defence and poor form just last week. They're going to be looking at this Argyle game to pick up a result, so maybe not the most favourable game. And then it's Coventry at home. It's a hard game to predict and maybe back Hardy in, but importantly, the game is being played at Home Park, which certainly helps, where Hardy has scored 3 in his last 2 home games.
Yeah, no, fully back that pick. I was so close to picking him the other week when was it Kelman was dropped, and yeah, you talked me into Sargent instead. So
Thank you.
yeah, I'm hoping no, definitely hoping that Hardy is on the score sheet. I think that home game especially is the big chance for him. But counter attacking against the Middlesbrough side also could lean into that angle. Shall we dive into League One?
Yeah, perfect. And I've got the goalkeeper pick this week. And with it being an Easter weekend, no team gets 2 home games, so that rules out a certain advantage to some teams. So we've really got recent form and opposition matchups to focus on here. And I'm siding with Sam Tickle of Wigan. Head coach Ryan Lowe has come in, and you could argue taking some of the fun out of the way that Wigan are playing. But I would say for the right reasons. Their games have become very tight in recent weeks, with scorelines being extremely low. They haven't won in their last 6 games, but with a lot of draws, and I find their XG against really interesting. I'm just going to read them out to you quickly. It was 1.23 for Charlton, 0.39 for Barnsley, 0.62 for Bolton, 1.41 for Leyton Orient, 0.46 for Exeter, and finally 0.21 for Wrexham. That might have been a little bit long-winded, but I think these numbers are super impressive, despite being further down the table. So for games against Shrewsbury and then taking on Rotherham at home, I'm liking the chances of Wigan not giving up big scoring chances, and I think it's the best bet to secure 2 clean sheets for this game week.
Yeah, very nice. Different angle for my defender. I'm heading back towards the upper part of the table, and it's Reading I'm looking at. I'm going for a player you suggested recently. I'm going for Tyler Bindon. Just really, really solid defender. Be interested to see what happens to him next season when he's back, well, with Nottingham Forest technically. But before we get there, Reading have a nice 3-point cushion on the playoffs right now, and they're playing really well. They have 2 games this week, Lincoln and Mansfield. Lincoln have nothing to play for. Like, they, regardless, mathematically can't finish in the playoffs, can't get relegated. They are on the beach, and despite them being quite a fun team, away from home it's not as prolific as it is at home. They've blanked in 2 of their last 3 away games, and Reading are phenomenal at home. They've been picking up clean sheets all through the season basically, so I'm happy to back that side of things. Mansfield are one of the fewest goal scorers at home in the league, just 22 goals for them, which puts them well down the table for goals at home. So despite Reading's kind of home, like the form being weighted towards the home, they did just go to Northampton and keep a clean sheet. So I think they can go to Mansfield and keep a clean sheet as well. Bindon himself, the big call away from clean sheets is clearances, 7.86 per 90 minutes. So lovely couple of bonus points there should they come in. Yeah, Bindon for me is the standout defender in League One.
Okay, yeah, we've got similar thinking here. So, as we both know, it's the business end of the season for the players, but also EFL fantasy players too. So sometimes I try and mess around and come up with someone interesting, but I think we can't miss out on the big hitters here. So I have included Lewis Wing on the show. 6 goals, 8 assists this season, an interception on average per 90, and just under 2 key passes per 90 as well. The all-round midfielder Wing will have a big say on whether Reading retain the final playoff spot by the end of the season. So surely it's a game week where Wing will really take responsibility on his shoulders and dominate that midfield. As you say, first up, Lincoln at home. A little bit of a tricky encounter maybe with Lincoln having no pressure on them, but Reading's home form has been superb, only being bettered by Birmingham and Wrexham. And with the second game being against Mansfield, as we said, who have conceded 2 or more goals 5 times at home this year. certainly not as secure in their defensive shape. And with Reading needing results, goals could come here. And a lot like Brownhill for Burnley, Wing is just often the man to come up with the goods on the big occasions here. So yeah, going for Lewis Wing.
Yeah, very good. I was wondering if you'd also join me on the Reading angle after Charlie Savage the other week as well. He missed a couple of chances against Northampton, but he also has that threat. So yeah, I was wondering if he was going to be in your mind as well. But yeah, Wing definitely makes sense. Yeah, to round out League One, then I'm looking up front and I'm taking a man with 3 goals and assists in his last 2 games. It's Kyle Wooten for Stockport. Yeah, diving into further into that playoff picture with a team with, I mean, a very outside chance of automatics here. It's a 5-point gap to those ahead of them, but I don't think Stockport are about to let up anytime soon. I think they want to take that momentum into the playoffs. I don't think this is like, some people have said like Sunderland in League One, in the Championship, sorry, have almost like taken the foot off the gas and trying to rest players with all their injury issues to get to the playoffs now. I don't think Stockport are going to be doing that. I think they're just going to put the foot down here, see if there's any slip-ups ahead of them, which there have been recently, and just keep going. Yeah, Wooten, 11 goals and 10 assists this season. He took 4 shots the other day against Rotherham. Their fixtures, Peterborough away. Listen, Peterborough have been improved, and especially at home, but they're not immune to conceding goals. Like, we know that, and this is they were really good on Sunday, against Birmingham in the cup final. But I think back in the league reality, I think like their season's basically over, and Stockport are going to go there, and I think they're going to win, and I think Wooten's going to be key to that. Then the second game is at home to Huddersfield, who are rubbish right now. There's no other way to put it. They just really are. I don't know what's happening there. They look terrible, and honestly, I genuinely think it's one of these games where Huddersfield have talent, and they could easily go there and maybe maybe get a point or something. But on the other hand, Stockport could roll them over 5-0 and no one would bat an eyelid. Like, that's this is what we're looking at here. And if they do that, well, I'm looking at Wooten to be like front and centre there to capitalise on the Huddersfield team, who honestly don't seem to know their rights from left right now.
Yeah, no, I'm really happy that you've selected Wooten. I think I said to you just last week, I really like this Stockport team. They've been doing really well, but I've just never found myself picking one of their players. I don't know, it's because as a team in general, they're just really good, so there's no standouts. I never really know what angle to go for, so I'm glad that we've finally been able to talk about Stockport county player, where it just feels like we haven't forever, especially when we look at up the table. I really fancied them this week, so I might talk about them as my potential team pick, but I just didn't know where to go with them, so I'm glad you've got Wooten in there.
So into League Two then, and yeah, back to the goalkeeper pick. I'm going to take Will Stanway for Barrow. Barrow have been an interesting team recently. They've really just kind of picked it up when their season kind of seemed a bit dead and buried, which is always quite fun to see. They've got back-to-back clean sheets now. They went to MK Dons and won 3-0. And in that game, Will Stanway made 7 saves. They then hosted Walsall, beat them 2-0. Stanway didn't actually have to do anything in that game, and just shows that they're actually playing quite well. But yeah, before that, Stanway got 4 saves against Salford. He's actually only started the last 4 games of the season. In total, he's only played 13. They've kind of rotated the goalkeepers, but Stanway's in for now. So I'm gonna back him. Yeah, he's picked up a couple of bonus points. Their opponents are Fleetwood and Tranmere. The Fleetwood game is away from home, could be a bit tricky, but the form that Barrow are in, I think they can keep Fleetwood at bay, who are also in that kind of not much to play for scenario. And then Tranmere at home, I know Tranmere scored 3 against Accrington the other day in the last 15 minutes. I don't think Barrow would let give them those opportunities, even though they're all incredible goals, and it's like Accrington gave them the opportunities.
Yeah.
I just think it's a different test. Like the rest of the season, Tranmere have not travelled well, have not scored goals away from home. I'm not going to take three absolute incredible goals to discredit that theory because it's still true, you know. So yeah, I think there's a good chance of back-to-back clean sheets here for Barrow, who are ending the season quite nicely.
Yeah, so interestingly, I actually had the same thought as you. I was going to go Niall Canavan. I wasn't sure to whether to pick him as my defender pick or leave him as my sub point one pick. But it seems that we've talked about Barrow's defence. I'll go somewhere else, and I've got another player up my sleeve for zero point 0.1 pick. So with Port Vale in the driving seat for the League Two title, I wanted to pick out a star defender, Connor Hall, as my pick, securing 5 clean sheets in his last 7 games. I usually like to give an average clearance number per match, but honestly, just saying that Connor Hall has 340 clearances over the season was just too tempting not to say. First up is Carlisle, who have had 2 good wins and just about keeping them alive, but it's against good opposition where Carlisle really gets stuck. And with Carlisle having the worst home record and averaging just under a goal per match at home, you feel Hall can secure another clean sheet here. The second game is against Grimsby, a side who I openly have said I've loved this season, but sadly I feel like playing away to the league leaders might just be a step too far here. However, I am still worried that what Grimsby are capable of. So whilst I'm recommending Hall, I'm still debating whether he makes the grade for my team this week.
Yeah, I reckon if I go back through my team for this entire season, Connor Hall is probably my most picked player. Um, he's just often very reliable for those double figure returns. No, I do like this suggestion. In midfield, I've got a bit of an interesting one, and I think it's someone that we've spoke about before. I'm gonna suggest Tyler Walton for Accrington Stanley for
Yeah.
this for the same reason as before. Is he's still playing up front for them as a midfielder? He kind of had a bit of a spell out the team, but every now and again he just pops up with like incredible point returns. A few weeks ago, 19 points against Newport with 3 assists and a goal. Then it all went a bit quiet, and then last week against Tranmere, goal, assist, interception, 13 points. It kind of fits into the narrative in my head of like they've they've still got something technically to play for, but it should be a little bit pressure off. Like it's not, you know, they can't relax, but this isn't stressful. They've got a good barrier over Carlisle and Morecambe in the relegation fight. And interestingly, their second game of the 2 is against Carlisle. It's at home as well. They've just scored 3 goals against Tranmere at home, and Walton got 13 points in that game. Similarly, I think they could start turning their attacking threat on if they're edging closer to survival in that game, and I'd expect Walton to benefit from that. The other game's a tricky one. It's away to Salford, but as we've kind of seen, Salford do concede goals. Like we did see that in the double game week, and I know, okay, Notts County and Doncaster are different style of opposition to Accrington Stanley, but also I'm going to use that to our benefit here because it means that Salford are going to have to come out and play with the ball, which is exactly what they didn't need to do against Notts County and exactly what they kind of didn't really need to do against Doncaster. Now they're going to get like it's all going to be on Salford now to actually take a step up here, and with their outside playoff chances, it's almost like they have a little bit of pressure going into this game. Accrington, if they can get a point here, they'll take it. And yeah, I think Walton's just an interesting pick across the season. 7 goals, 7 assists. Like he's pretty consistent returner every few games, and with it being a double game week, I think that's where the angle comes good.
Yeah, it was Tyler Walton and Joe Whitmarsh was who I recommended after seeing that when they won 5-0, Walton got 3 assists, Whitmarsh got 2 goals. I thought, oh my goodness, this could be one of my favourite strike forces, both midfielders, and yeah, they went really quiet since then. So it was nice to see Walton scored in his last game. And I like the pick. There's different, especially being midfielder, there's different avenues to get the points from. It's a really fun game, and yeah, like you said, the teams that they're playing against are under pressure, so it'd be really interesting how he gets on. And as for the striker pick, it's really exciting who will get the golden boot. It's very much going to be on Michael Cheek's mind. He's 4 goals ahead this season, sitting on 21 goals for the season. And I'm going to pick him because he's playing against Morecambe and Swindon, who are not known for playing their part in low-scoring games. I just can't ignore this man. Apart from a dry spell throughout January, Cheek has been a very reliable goal scorer. His XG very much shows this too, being 20.1. However, I will concede that it's been boosted by 7 penalties, but that's obviously not a negative. Interestingly, though, his total shots for the season is 84. As for his shots on target, they're 42. So half of his total shots end up on target. And you may have worked out where I'm going here. But with 42 shots on target, having resulted 21 goals, that means Cheek scores at the rate of 1 goal in every 4th shot. That is just remarkable.
Yeah, no, I do love it. Do love a bit of Michael Cheek. He's always good to throw him back into the equation. Yeah, I think last week was the only week he's really blanked in a long while. But you can forgive him because they were against Port Vale, who are the best team in the league. So yeah, Morecambe and Swindon definitely good opponents for him. Do you want to tell me about your sub 0.1% pick?
Yeah, so it's all lineup dependent, but I am going to go in with Kieran Dowell for Birmingham. They've got some making up to do, losing the final, but they also have sort of no pressure, and I think we might actually see some really fun performances. They've already been fun, they've already been high scoring, but I've got a feeling they could really explode. As mentioned last week, I sort of teased that they had a game against Crawley, who just conceded boatload of goals at times, and Dowell's a really classy operator. Still at 0% pick. I'm surprised to see that. It just feels like I have to take advantage of that while I see it. He's probably one of the best players that's 0% picked on offer. Did see that he'd missed the Peterborough game in the league. They'd need to just double check why that was. But yeah, I've gone for Kieran Dowell. As for their second game, it's up against Burton at home, who have just managed to sneak themselves out of the relegation zone right now. But this Birmingham team is basically a quality of a championship team. It's like an FA Cup game every time they go to teams, especially at the bottom of the league. I just don't know if they're going to be able to keep up with Birmingham here. So yeah, I'm going for Kieran Dowell.
Yeah, nice pick. Yeah, I think he was mine a few weeks ago and got 2 assists in 2 games. So very reliable output in League One. My pick, I'm actually going with a Stockport attacker, but it's not Kyle Wooten, who I suggested as my League One attacker. It's Jack Diamond, who's 0% picked. Yeah, he's had a nice resurgence in these last few games. His last 3 games, he scored twice and taken 9 shots. Give me some of that. Yeah, 3 shots a game on average. I'll happily take that, especially as I kind of spoke about their opponents earlier, being Peterborough and Huddersfield, who are going to give up shots. He's also got 2 assists in 4 games as well. Creative outlet off the wing. He's a very direct player. Just a really good player, I think. At this level now, he's finding his form. He's played at a level above that, so we know where his potential is. And yeah, it's not like I want to make a direct comparison to Barry here. They're not the same player, but Stockport have just kind of got on with it with Louis Barry being out. But it's kind of given a chance slowly for Jack Diamond to kind of cement his place in the team. He's played in a few different positions throughout the season, and now I think we're seeing the best of him. And it's at the right time for Stockport because it's in the running. And having him in form, having Wooten in form. The other thing with the Wooten side of it is he's got 10 assists. So you've got a striker who can create stuff, and Diamond's going to be playing off of him. So I'm happy to almost side with that, knowing that there's Wooten could easily be giving the assist to Diamond rather than the other way around here. So yeah, Jack Diamond the pick for me.
Yeah, he's another player that just absolutely passes the eye test, doesn't he? He's such a brilliant dribbler. He actually averages 3.5 touches in the opposition box as well, which is really, really high, especially when you consider he's a player that starts out wide in possession. And I'd never actually noticed his points totals. He's had some quite impressive points totals. especially looks at the Stevenage game, 3 key passes, 1 goal, 1 assist, 11 points. That would be absolutely lovely for you this game week.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like if you scroll all the way back through all of his games, it's been very stop start for him. But yeah, the last two home games in particular, he's looked so much better, and yeah, I think now's a chance to kind of go with him as a sub point one. Yeah, like you say, it's interesting like the options this week because there's not that many like under the radar players anymore. We're late in the game, but also because we're also late in the game, everyone kind of has their favourites, so you kind of just have to go outside the box. And if you do, and if you're comfortable, there are so many ways to get an advantage this week, and every week pretty much. It's just hitting right, hitting on one of those players basically. But yeah, Diamond's my go for it this week. But yeah, literally even looking say last week, you've got the top scorers in the game week. Cam Kavanagh 2%, 0.2% picked. If we ignore the two Salford lads because of their double game week, Caleb Taylor 0% picked. Terrell Thomas 0.1% pick. Like Rob Atkinson 0% picked. Like if you're willing to gamble, if you're willing to like do the research and gamble, there's certainly an angle to be able to pick up some of these players and get an advantage here. So, Ian, do you want to run me down what your team looks like going into this game week?
Yeah, sure. I've gone a bit brave this week. I've gone for a formation of 2-2-2. I just want some goals. I want to cheer myself up. After my recent form of my striker being my best player, let's get two of them. So, starting in goal, I've got Sam Tickle. And I've got a defensive pairing of Harry Darling and Macaulay Gillespie. You could argue at that second game with playing Wickham away is not ideal, but Wickham have just been really defensively solid. They have sort of lost their attacking edge, especially now that they're in the top two. So I'm kind of hoping for a 0-0 there. Midfield pairing of Lewis Wing and Kieran Dow, and up front I've gone for Ryan Hardy and Michael Cheek.
Lovely stuff. I have Lawrence Vigouroux in goal, and then it's a 3-2-1 for me right now. Tyler Binden, Owen O'Connell and Connor Hall are my three centre-back choices at the moment. O'Connell's just off the back of a huge clearance game week as well, so I think it could be a good choice of his fixtures. Midfield two midfielders I spoke about in the Championship. It's currently Armstrong and Radoni. And then up front I have got my sub-point one pick, Jack Diamond. But yeah, as always, like our teams might not be locked in just yet, so do follow us on the socials and we will post our full teams before kickoffs on Friday, pending none of us having any players from the game tonight. We're on X at FBBD Pod, and we are on Bluesky at Football Breakdown. So let's get into our final section of the show, which is our teams to win. And then, as always, myself and Ian are going to place a £5 bet on our two teams to win their first game of this double game week. Ian, who are your two teams this week?
So this is the part where I wish we could... I wish I could post on the socials and update you on these changes, but sadly when we lock these two teams in, they are locked in for good. So I'm going to go very League One heavy. As mentioned previously, I'm going to go for Stockport County. Especially that second game against Huddersfield, I just see that being 9 points. If it wasn't for MK Dons, I would be saying that Huddersfield are now currently the worst team in the EFL. So luckily they have MK Dons to thank there. And obviously the first game is where the bet counts, and it's Peterborough away. They're just too much quality in the Stockport County team, as you're clearly suggesting with Diamond and Wooten being your suggestions. The second team I'm going for Reading. Just really like them at home. It's the Lincoln game that might be the tricky one. So I can see Matt laughing there. Maybe he's thinking the same as me, or he thinks that Lincoln are actually the team on the beach that are going to turn up here. So yeah, Lincoln, as I said, Reading have got the third best home records. Really happy with them. And then Mansfield away, I think they've got enough to do there. Hoping that Lewis Wing's the one that can contribute to that one. And my £5 bet returns £23.51. So I kind of went for these two teams with the bet in mind, because I just think they're priced really, really favourably at the minute. So that's where my angle's going for there.
Yeah, very nice. Yeah, it's a decent return. My returns are £23.51. I've gone
Oh,
Reading and
interesting.
Stockport as well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I just think they're the two obvious ones this week given the fixtures. There's a few other angles you could definitely go at, but I think I'd rather side with teams that are playing well and have something to play for still. So yeah, Stockport, as I mentioned with the Wooten and Diamond stuff, I think they can trouble Peterborough. I think Peterborough could potentially still be in party mode from Sunday. I mean, I just think Stockport can go there, and the thing with Stockport is they can go there and they can grind out a 1-0 win. Like that's
they can do
the type of
both.
team they
Yes.
are. And then they can go play Huddersfield on Monday and turn on the style. Like they can do both. They're so good that I'm just like, yeah, this is exactly the kind of double game week on there. Like, yeah, this way you back this team. And Reading, yeah, I think they should beat Lincoln. They've been really good at home. I don't see them kind of. They've shown no signs, given all the pressure off the field. They've shown no signs of that getting to them. So I don't think a playoff race is going to do the same thing either. I think they're just going to take this in their stride. The away game at Mansfield is, and they're not as good away as they are at home, but Mansfield don't really have much to play for. Only like if they can go there and win that 1-0, like it's fine, and we get the away win points there too. Yep. So joining you on Reading and Stockport, and that brings us to the end of the show for this week. Yeah, as I said, do follow us on the socials to keep up to date with any changes, and engage in any of our posts through the weekend as we probably spend most of our Easter weekend watching football. But yeah, thank you all for listening as well. Thank you, Ian,
Thank you, Matthew.
and take it easy.